So we're we're really happy that you're here tonight, and very happy that Crystal Webster is going to share with us. Crystal Webster is a co-founder and chief grief officer of Sharing Solace. And she's given me three objectives that she hopes after her presentation tonight and our engagement. She does invite you to comments or questions in the chat, or raise your hand, and she will address those. So we do want this to be an interactive uh, program. But her three questions that she hopes you'll be able to answer at the end is: number one is, how can you help or support a friend who is grieving this holiday season? Two is there anything you can do to prepare yourself? If you think you could have an emotional episode for yourself, self-care for yourself, correct? And then the third is, how can we honor those we love that can't be with us? So those are the three things we hope you will be able to answer and have a little bit more information about at the end of this hour and a half that we'll have together. I do want to tell you a little bit about Crystal Webster. First of all, she is a lady with many titles, and just tells me how active and busy that she is. She's an entrepreneur. She's a speaker, a Grief Sherpa, an author, the co-founder of the Sharing Solace. Let me see. What else? She's a wife, a daughter, an auntie. But above everything, that the designations that she holds, highest is the designation of Mama to Madeline Elizabeth Webster. She goes on to talk about when Madeline died in her arms, just hours after she was born, Crystal wanted to die too. It took her years to learn to live again. It was only once she realized Maddie didn't want her mom to spend the rest of her life waiting to die, and that's where she founded the mission of the Sharing Solace, and that's how it came to be. Sharing Solace was founded from that love and hope to empower those who are grieving and wrap them in a community of strength, support, and resources, which is shared through her proactive outreach system. So those who grieve can always remember you're not alone. So Crystal, we very much appreciate you being here tonight and willing to share your story, and also what about Sharing Solace. So we're really, I'm going to let you take it over. And again, I'll try to monitor the chat, and Sharon will also be watching, and you can always raise your hand or that type of thing, because I think it works better if we answer questions as they come along, rather than trying to do it all at the end. Okay. Yeah. So again, welcome to everybody. I think I have 15, I think, are here so far. So we're happy you're with us.
Yay.
Thanks for being here, Crystal.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you everyone for joining us this evening. I do have slides because nobody wants to look at a bunch of black boxes for the next hour or so. So let me see if I can get that to work. Okay, so I can't get it to work the way that I want to, but this is close enough. How about that? So hopefully you see a window, a Chrome window, but there is a PowerPoint in there. So I like to try to hide all of the other stuff around it. But I'm giving myself a little bit of grace and saying, you know what, it's more important that you see the things I want you to and not the things that don't matter. So this is just a Canva slide deck on in a Chrome browser.
It's a nice size. It is a nice size, Crystal. It's not little itty bitty.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, awesome. So as weird as it may sound, I am actually really excited to be here tonight. I'm excited to have you here. I'm excited to invite you along this journey with me and with us. No one should have to grieve alone. And the holidays are so wrapped up in tradition and emotion and nostalgia already that what we're currently experiencing just kind of gets amplified this time of year. But before we get into some of the tips and the tricks and the tactics, I do want to go over just a few little like housekeeping things so that we're all on the same page. So we're going to start with here's our agenda. We're going to go over a little bit of housekeeping, and then we'll get into the juicy bits. And then depending on how much time we have, we might flip the last couple things. We'll just have to see how it goes, right? So who am I? Well, Vicki kind of told you who I was. I am Crystal Webster. I'm co-founder of Sharing Solace. If you'll notice the co, anytime you see me share my name, the co is in parentheses because my daughter, Madeline Elizabeth, is my other co-founder. And even though I like to give myself a lot of titles, the one I hold highest regards is Mama to Madeline Elizabeth. And our mission here at Sharing Solace, like Vicki said, is to empower grievers to grieve and lovers to love their griever so that they can always remember you're not alone. We do that in a lot of different, pretty unique ways, but the concept that I'm most proud of is our, what we call our patented technology-elevated pass-alongable keepsakes that are wrapped in an ever-growing community of strength, support, and resources. But why me? Why am I here today? Well, you know a little bit about that. These are two of the very few pictures that I have with my daughter, Madeline. She should be turning 14 this year, but instead, she died in my arms just 8 hours after she was born in 2010. Yes, Madeline is my one and only child, and yes, she is my guardian angel. I mother her just like I would any child, or just like I think any mother would mother their child. I want her to be proud of me, and I even though sometimes come across a little crazy, I talk to her. I just talk. I look up when I'm talking to my Madeline instead of down like you would to a normal 14-year-old, or maybe 14's about this height, so maybe across. But I look up when I'm talking to her. But I tell you this just to show you that I am deeply and personally connected to grief. I know it very well, and I have for a very long time. I'm not just someone that's kind of like regurgitating words from a textbook. Every word that I speak tonight comes from my soul. I've used every single one of these concepts, plus many, many more. And I've kind of whittled it down and found the cream of the crop to these top 13. So a couple more reminders. We'll go through this real quick. This is being recorded and will be shared on NAMI Johnson County's Facebook page, which I will, or sorry, not Facebook, YouTube, I believe. And so it is going to be on the interwebs. So feel free to use your discretion if you decide to share your personal story or more details in the recording. The chat will not be saved if I'm understanding that correctly. So feel free to put whatever you'd like in the chat. That won't be shared anywhere. But if you do want to come on screen and share anything, just know that this will be out on the internet someday. But yes, I do plan to stay out of the chat box just because I get distracted. And if I start reading the chat box, who knows where we'll end up by the end of the night. But please do use the chat box. Introduce yourself, share information, I want that to be kind of a side conversation as we go along here. If you'd like to do that, you can also always raise your hand and ask questions that way. But if it's, if you just would rather type it into the chat box, please feel free to do that. And even though I'm going to make sure that I share everything at the end, I will also follow up with an email that has the access to the recording and next steps if you choose, and like all that good stuff. As long as I have your real email address, and that's what you use to sign up for here, I'll make sure that you get everything you need. And if you gave me a fake one, we can fix that too if you do want the follow-up stuff. So first, I want to acknowledge that, really the elephant in the room. This is tough. What we're talking about tonight is tough. And it is tough on top of tough, on top of tough, on top of tough. So please give yourself grace and feel free to step away or tune out if you're feeling a little activated. And activated is the word that I choose to use instead of triggered. I feel like it has a little bit, it feels a little calmer and smoother to me, but a lot of people use triggered. I just prefer to use activated. Um, we're not going to be comparing or at leasting or judging ourselves or others tonight. And I also hope we can have a little bit of fun too. You'll notice here, I want to mention that I feel that words are very powerful. And the words that I choose to use have become part of my healing journey. And sometimes that can come across as a little bit jarring or a little bit crass if you're not expecting it. What I mean by death positive, I consider myself death positive. That does not mean that I am pro death. It means that I have come to find strength in using powerful words when it comes to life and death. I believe that my daughter, Madeline, died. She did not pass. She wasn't a test. She's not in a better place. You know, what better place is there to be than with your mama when you're a little tiny baby? I didn't lose her. I know exactly where she is. Now, it took me a very long time to be able to say those words out loud. My daughter died. But once I was able to really say that and say that directly and not beat around the bush with all the euphemisms and things, I found that my healing journey really started to round a corner. And so that's what I mean by death positive language. But it took me quite a while to get to there. So especially if you're early in your grief journey, it might feel harsh, it might feel jarring. Um, I don't expect you to use those words. I'm just saying that is why I choose to use those words. So based on that, I can be a little bit snarky. I can be a little bit sassy and off color. I'm a fast talker. And I believe that why say something politely when you can maybe toss in a 4-letter word for a little bit of emphasis. Don't worry, I will watch my tongue tonight. I kind of feel like why say everyone has the best intentions at heart or give everyone the benefit of the doubt when I can introduce the concept that I love of Hanlon's razor, which specifically states never attribute to malice that which can be adequately explained by stupidity. It's just a snarky way to say, give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I mean, people don't mean to be mean. They're just kind of dumb, just to say that. So I hope that you can keep that in mind this holiday season, as you interact with your friends and family, and as you hear them say some of the dumbest, most insensitive things you've probably ever heard and seen, including all of those platitudes that I'm sure you know of. I promise that they love you. Their intentions are pure. They want to help. They just don't know how and are sometimes a little bit dense. So, everything that we talk about here, I've seen this work for others. I've seen it work for myself, but we're really talking grief smarts, grief street smarts, and not book smarts. So feel free to take what you want, trash the rest. This is just kind of a thought provoker, if nothing else. So, and again, there are two sides to every tip coin. It can kind of be attacked from the tips can be attacked from the griever's perspective or from the friends and family's perspective. And I probably won't touch on both sides for every tip, but hopefully I'll do enough that you kind of can, whether you're the griever or the lover of the griever, you can kind of understand where these tips are coming from. And even though that we're talking about these tips in the context of grief and the holidays, I really feel like a lot of these are just really good mental health ideas and that they can be used year round. They can be a good way to set realistic boundaries and take care of your soul, whether that's December or June. And we'll be talking about a lot of things here. So if you feel 13 is a lot of concepts. So take one, find one that really speaks to your soul and really try to refine that and integrate that into your life. The other 12, keep them in the back of your toolbox for another day if you'd like. So now let's get to the meat and potatoes, shall we? I'm excited for this. So, okay, my tip number 1 is all about the invitation. Invitations are so important. So please, please, please continue to invite your griever to your holiday events, especially if you've invited them in the past. But also understand that they may not be able to be there. It's easy to forget. This is maybe one of my favorite sayings. It's easy to forget that an invitation is not a subpoena. Just because you're invited doesn't mean you have to show up. The holidays are hard. Attending events are hard. But it's very nice to know that you are loved and wanted at these events. So just getting that note, that invitation in your inbox or even in your mailbox goes a long way to knowing that people are there to support you and love you and want to be around you. So continue to invite whoever you would normally invite to your holiday festivities, to the gatherings and the meals and the Christmas carols and the lightings, whether that be candle or Christmas, whatever it is, please just continue to invite us. But know that we may not attend and we may be RSVPing no, but that does not reflect on who you are, our relationship to you, or even the event that you're hosting. We just may not have the mental or physical capacity to be there. But I do think it's important and so, so meaningful to continue to actually invite us. And here's a personal example that isn't really winter holiday related, but one that I think really kind of proves the point. I am of a certain age, and so I get regularly invited to baby showers. As you can probably understand, that's not really particularly something I enjoy doing. In fact, I have not attended a baby shower since 2010. And also, I really love to get those cute little invites in the mail. It always puts a little song in my heart because I know that person wants me involved in celebrating their new bundle of joy. And it means so much to me to know that they're thinking about me enough to want to invite me. And also, I'm the first one to RSVP no. And then, after I RSVP, I immediately go to their registry and buy the most ridiculous gift that I can find. So I think that people that really know me and understand my story and get it appreciate, they appreciate inviting me, and they know that I appreciate the invite, but also don't hold it against themselves. They know that me not attending is not, how I feel about them. So, invitations are not subpoenas. Tip number 2, in case you've forgotten, grieving is exhausting. It takes a lot of energy. So I want you to know that it is okay if you RSVP no. It is okay if you need to cancel at the last minute. It's okay if you arrive late and leave early. You're trying, and I know that you're doing everything you can to be part of that celebration and to kind of return to normal. And I'm using that in quotes. It's just that grieving is tough, and parties are anxiety inducing. There's so much overwhelm. There's a lot of new people and new things going on. When you couple that with grief, it just kind of kicks everything up to 11. Your anxiety is through the roof. And so I just want to say that I see you. I see you trying to be part of the festivities. I see you trying to do what you can. And I want to give you the permission to do what you need to do for you. And if that means arriving late, leaving early without saying thank you to the host, you do what you need to do. Push yourself to show up, yet also take care of your well-being. I'm giving you that permission to do what is best for you. And I hope that you can give yourself that same permission. So tip 3 is to just participate. That means just show up as much as or as little that you are capable of. It's not real easy to do all those things. It's not easy to get out of bed, to take a shower, to get ready, get in the car, get where you're going, get out of the car, get into the building that you're going into. That all takes a lot of work. It's understandable that you physically may be standing there, but you may not be able to, say, carry on an in-depth conversation or remember what you talked to the person that you're talking to now about 6 or 8 or 12 months ago. And you're definitely not going to be able to like rattle off that laundry list of the ingredients of grandma's fudge that you used to be able to. As a griever, we need that extra nudge to show up. We need a little extra pushing and a little extra love to actually join in the festivities and to just have those conversations. We may just be so caught up in our own mind and our own situation that we kind of forget what we're there for, right? It helps us to have that extra nudge, that extra love. And it's important to our healing journey to know, to know that we can go just a little bit further out of our comfort zone. With all that being said, there is a fine line between giving a little extra nudge and reading the social cues. So give the encouragement and take the encouragement, but also allow for grace. Now, on that same note of participation, it's important, I believe, to do the best you can to be present. Show up. And showing up is the hardest part of the event. Once you're there, you might as well try to find a bit of enjoyment, right? You've already put in all the hard work. So try to be present, try to engage with the environment around you. And again, it is perfectly acceptable to be there physically and not there mentally. It is okay to be a wallflower. You are doing the best you can. And you can only focus on what you can focus on now. So if you are there physically and not there mentally, that is okay. And I will tell you that grief brain will have your brain all over the place. You will probably only speak in short sentences, yes or no, or short sentences, if you even complete a full sentence. And I can almost guarantee you that if there is something sparkly over there, you're going to get distracted and you may just walk off. And in some ways, that is being super present in the moment, right? Now, number 5 is probably one of my all-time favorite tips. Say their name and speak their memories. One of my favorite things in the whole wide world is to hear someone else say Madeline's name. In fact, I have a quote that I want to share with you that I think resonates and shows this pretty well. Now, you're free to judge me because I adore this quote. I adore the song it's from, and I even adore the man that sings it, Macklemore. Yes. This comes from his 2017 song, Glorious. And if you haven't seen the music video, go watch not right now, but go watch the music video later tonight and then go down the rabbit hole of Macklemore music videos because he has so much fun with them. The quote, this particular quote from this song, Glorious, is called, I heard you die twice. Once is the first time that they bury you in the grave. And the second time is the last time that someone mentions your name. Think about that for a second, right? We have zero control over a person's first death. And we have complete control over a person's second. And I think that that is why people love to hear their loved ones' names, especially after they die. Plus, the holidays are just kind of a time to reminisce, time to get all nostalgic and think about the Christmas and the Hanukkahs and the Thanksgivings of years and years ago. And it just tends to bring up memories. You know, you get around your extended family and you talk about, hey, remember that time that grandpa did that thing, or the time that cousin John ate all the cranberry sauce directly out of the can, or, you know, all of the funny and reminiscent style, funny, loving stories. And also, people get really uncomfortable when they talk about the stories after the person dies. We can talk about anything and everyone when they're alive. But when you bring up someone that has died, I think people get uncomfortable. And I'm here to say, please don't do that. Don't get uncomfortable. Just share those stories. Because as the griever, I love to hear them. So if your person happened to have died young, like my Madeline, think about where they would be. You know, talk about what you'd be doing or how old they'd be. There's really just something that I think about every year. You know, I think about my Madeline. Okay, this year she'd be 14. And this year, this is what I think we'd be getting her, you know, what Santa would be bringing her. And this is how we'd be celebrating, you know, assuming that she allowed me in her personal bubble. She's a teenager right now, you know. Or with older grandparents, aunts, uncles, people that had a little bit more life under their belt, talk about the holidays that you did have with them and the favorite things, their favorite things, and what your favorite memories of them were. You know, we just automatically do that in the holidays, around the holidays. Why does it have to stop when they die? So again, speaking their name and talking about them is one of the absolute best things you can do to allow a griever to grieve and feel their feels this holiday season. Now, be prepared. It may make the griever cry, but I promise you, it will lift their hearts with love far more than it will fill their eyes with tears. So speak their name and share the stories. Okay. I see a couple things in the chat. Anything we're sharing, Vicki? I just see a number. I don't see. Okay, I'm going to keep going. So number 6. Now stick with me for a minute.
I'm sorry, Crystal, I was muted. I'm sorry. This is Vicki. No, it's nothing. Sharon was just introducing herself, and I put your contact information card there. So yeah, but I just while I have you, I love that an invitation is not a subpoena. That is such a great thought for any of us, right? If you get an invitation and you do that, but you're happy they remembered, but you go, it's just it's very interesting to look at it that way. So that's interesting. So just to let you know, that resonated with me, and the sharing of people's names and stories is really vital. I found that with people that have died in our own family, people I've loved, it's just fun to hear their stories and people's stories about them, and they remember them. So thank you. But I'll mute myself again. Thank
and
you
honestly,
very much.
I'm pretty sure I heard someone else say that an invitation is not a subpoena or something very similar to that. And I just kind of like, that's mine now. So I love that.
I love
because it's so succinct, and it's true. It's just true.
It is true. It is true. And that's a step back moment when you have that, I should go. I don't, for whatever reason, very legitimate type of reasons, and not to look at it like it's a sentence on you. So it's good. So thank you. Yeah. I'm learning many things, but that was one that's really stuck with me at this point.
And that's the hope of these tips that I have for you. I hope that it kind of sparks some other ideas. You know, maybe you haven't thought of these things, but if you have, maybe hearing it a different way maybe sparks a new or a different idea in your mind. So that's really all I really want to do here. So, yeah. So tip 6. Let's get back before I get super sidetracked. Let's get back to tip 6. We still have several more to go, but I'll be quick. I promise. So let's stick with me just for a second here. We're going to take the scenic route to get to the acknowledge part of this tip. One thing I like to tell myself is sometimes I have to name it to tame it. And that's another one of my succinct like catchphrases that I like. Meaning, sometimes all I have to do is recognize the emotion. So all I have to do is recognize that I'm scared of something, and I'm instantly just a little bit less afraid of it. I have found also that it's really hard for me to realize that I'm moving in the right direction or taking those baby steps forward until I look backwards. Hindsight is 2020. You can't see how far you've come until you actually turn around to see where you started. And so that's kind of what I'm getting here with tip number 6 of acknowledgement. Grievers want to act normally, or at least, act how they used to act. I've never been normal. I'm delightfully odd. But grief brain, for some reason, can kind of push the factory reset button. And we forget how we're kind of supposed to act during social gatherings and what social protocol is and how to act around other people so they don't like look at you with that crazy side eye and, think what's wrong with this person. Again, we've used all the energy we have just trying to be there physically that we don't always have enough gumption to behave as expected or even remember what behaving as expected is. So if you've never experienced, I'm assuming that everyone here has experienced grief of some magnitude. But if you haven't, first of all, good for you. And it's really hard to understand what a griever is going through if you haven't experienced it yourself. So we, as grievers, really need to take pride in what we have done and the progress that we have made towards beginning to heal. It's really easy to just say, well, I haven't done that and I can't do that right and this is wrong and I should have done that. But it doesn't always need to be about berating you. Sometimes you can commend yourself for the good things you have done. Think about how far you have come. Think about how you got here today. Think about all the tiny steps you had to take to get here today. And from a friend's perspective, please help us acknowledge those achievements, point them out to us. And it could be just as simple as saying, like, hey, thank you for being here tonight. It means a lot to have you here, and I know it wasn't easy for you to get here, but you are here, and you came, and we're here together. Or just thank you. That goes a very long way. So now we're going to get into, again, so the first 6 steps, the first tips that we kind of talk through, were a little bit more theoretical and more, I'm giving you permission, and so hopefully you will give yourself permission to have the feelings, to feel the feels, and just, it's okay to exist. What I really want to do going forward, 7 through the rest of them, we'll really get into like tactical and juicy ideas, things that you can do right here, right now, to give you grace, give you space, and allow you to move through give you action items to move through the rest of the year. So again, tip number 7, you can go out and do right now. In fact, I have a candle right here. Sense of smell is so closely linked to memory because of the anatomy of our brains. I don't know that we know that, but we do. It is. And so let's use that in a positive way. Maybe that looks like lighting a candle that reminds you of your person, or that smelled like your person, or it's baking something, or lighting a fire in the fireplace because that's what they love to do, or spritzing their favorite cologne on something or just in the air because you want to smell it. This can either be part of a grand gesture. You can add a smell or something like this and add some pomp and circumstance, or you can do it privately. In the case of a candle, candles are so prevalent this time of year. Just light your person's candle, the one that you designate as for your person, with just among the rest of the candles that you choose to light. Or you can take that candle and prominently display it as your person's candle on your table centerpiece. You're doing the exact same thing, just how you do it is how you need to do it. I love to find a scent that reminds me of my people. Maybe it's something they love, it could be a cinnamon roll or pine trees, or maybe it reminds you, of something. One of my favorites is my grandfather, Carl Gunner, Grandpa Gunner. He passed away. I was in middle school, so it's been many, many years. But growing up, I remember he smelled like Old Spice and mothballs. I'm sure you're thinking like, ew, that's disgusting. What? And no, Old Spice and mothballs bring me so much joy. And a few years ago, I just randomly found a candle that, it wasn't like the scent is Old Spice and mothballs, but it just had Grandpa Gunner's smell to it. And I should have bought every single can. I should have bought them out. And I just bought one. And to this day, I remember that candle. And even just thinking about that candle and the way that it smelled makes me think of him. And so that's why aftershave is one of the little icons here, because that's what I remember. That's the main thing that I remember about the smell I remember about my grandpa. So for a lot of us, the holidays have a religious component to them. Now, that may not be prayer. You may not be a prayer. However, there always seems to be some sort of ritual around over the next month or so, right? So just take a couple extra special milliseconds while you're doing whatever it is you're doing to include the person that has died. Think about the dreams that you lost while you're doing whatever it is you're doing. Take a moment of silence or, pray for them out loud as a group. However that fits into your rituals and your festivities. Maybe you do a dinner prayer or something like that as a family, and you just take an extra couple seconds and say your loved one's name under your breath. It's another one of those tips that can be done independently without making a scene, or you can add it to part of your festivities and invite others to join in with you. But I think that this one is probably one of the better known ones, but also worth noting here. So up to this point, we've talked about kind of emotions, the positive and the negative, that kind of stuff. This next one is actually to display a physical token that is physically and visually representative of your loved one. This is probably one of my favorites, and I'll tell you my personal story in just a minute. But I don't know about you, but my family, when we get together for a family meal, everybody has their spot. It was never like discussed. It wasn't like, everybody drew a number and that's where you sat. It's just like, this is where I sit for family meals, and no one else sits here because this is where this is my spot. It's the Sheldon Cooper. This is the spot. So when your person dies, maybe they were at the head of the table and it just feels wrong. It doesn't feel right to have someone else sitting there. Leave that spot open for them. If you do place settings, if you do name tags, something like that, allow them to have their own spot. Allow them to hold a physical space in the festivities, not just an emotional one. My second example is probably my favorite, and yeah, my favorite. The first year after Madeline died, so it was Christmas of 2010, I expected to have a 6-month-old. We would be sitting around the tree and playing with all the things that babies do, playing with the boxes and the bows and not the toys, the expensive toys we got, or all the trash. And if you haven't figured it out yet, the first year is often very, very hard. So that Christmas Eve, I went over to my parents' house like we do. Christmas Eve is at my parents' house. And when I got to my parents' house, all of the stockings were lined up on the mantle, like always, because, waiting to be filled by Santa. And I noticed that there was an extra stocking there. And I was a little bit, unsure for a second. And as I walked up, I realized that it was the stocking that I had as a little bitty girl. It was probably about this big. And as I got closer, I realized that the name that was embroidered across the top of it wasn't Crystal anymore. It was Madeline. And that stocking that I had as a little girl, my daughter now had and still has to this day. And oh my God, I don't think I've ever ugly cried so ugly in my entire life as right there that evening. It was just a little something that my parents did, that my parents could say without actually saying anything. Say, look, we love Madeline too. She's part of our family. And here's how we're going to, physically represent that. To this day, 14 years later, Madeline's stocking is still hung up with there's 10 stockings on that mantle. And every year since then, there's always been just a little something for her in that stocking. Sometimes it's an ornament or a little figurine. Sometimes it's just a few meaningful words written on a piece of paper. But it is so meaningful to me to know that every year my Madeline has a special place in our holiday festivities that aren't just my husband and I. They're my extended family. And my extended family wants her in their lives too. So I'd like to encourage you, if it feels right, to physically make room for your loved one this year. Again, that could be a place at the table, that could be a stocking or an extra candle, or maybe a framed picture somewhere prominent. Just find a way that they can be physically part of your festivities.
Crystal, there is a comment in the chat. I believe it's Monica, but I have she has her daughter's head wraps in a Ziploc bag that she opens and smells at least weekly because it reminds her of her. So.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I have, my Madeline she lived for 8 hours. We never even got to bring her home from the hospital. But I was convinced those 8 hours that her lips were chapped. I don't know why, just for some reason, Madeline had chapped lips. And I just randomly had some chapstick in my purse. And to this day, that chapstick is in my souvenir box with her. And every once in a while, I'll pull it out and I'll smell it. I won't use it because that's her chapstick, but I will smell it because it has a fruity smell to it. So, it's not always a candle. Sometimes it's a cheap chapstick that you got at Walmart on a random Tuesday. But yes, I love that. Yeah. Smell, the sense of smell is just so powerful, and I don't even know people really recognize it. So.
And also, Crystal, there's another comment, and that basically thanking you for sharing your story, that it's a beautiful story, and what a wonderful parent you have to get your stocking customized for your daughter. And so she just wants to, I think, I can't read this, Jackie maybe wants to thank you for sharing. But we all want to thank you for that.
Yeah. And I share because I hope that it encourages others to kind of see where these ideas came from. Not to tell you every bit of my story, but my story is what I know. And so if sharing what I know helps you find something that resonates with you, then I'm all for it. Okay, shall we move on to number 10? We're almost done. We got, let's see, 10, 11, 12, 13, 4 left. And then, yeah, we're almost there. So, oops, wrong way. Sorry. Number 10 is presents. We talked about presents earlier. Now we're going to talk about presents. Giving gifts and experiences are often that's part of the holiday season, right? Everybody goes go buy presents, get things, do stuff. No matter what you celebrate, it seems like there are always gifts involved. but let's say, it doesn't have to just be stuff. Let's say your loved one really was passionate about something, maybe animals. Maybe an annual pass to the zoo would be fun for you and your extended family, or donating time as a family to the animal shelter would be powerful. Maybe they were a brewer, so 6-pack of microbrews or a brewery tour, or same thing with wine. I know here in Kansas City, there's all kinds of breweries and distilleries and wineries and things that are experiences. I know so many of us, I mean, maybe I know that I feel like I'm kind of have enough stuff. I mean, I really don't want for anything in the world. Every once in a while, I'm like, ooh, look at those shoes, or ooh, that's really pretty, but I don't need anything. I already have so much stuff. And so it's really the experiences that I am finding I prefer to give as presents. So maybe they were rock climbers, or they loved to camp, or they love the movies. There's so many different ways. Everyone has such a wide array of interests that I'm sure you can find something that is meaningful, that your loved one loved, and that both you and the people that you're giving it to would enjoy doing or receiving or getting. I don't think anybody, mom, dad, if you're on here, close your ears. This year, my family is getting from my husband and I, we got tickets to Fraggle Rock Live. Because I grew up watching Fraggle Rock with my dad. That tells you how old I am. But it's also perfectly acceptable and a great thing for my 6-year-old nephews. So as a family of 10, we're all going to Fraggle Rock Live when it comes to town. And it's something that I think that my Madeline would enjoy too, even at 14. So, not quite the same, but it doesn't have to be stuff. It can be things as well. And again, this is another one that doesn't have to be just for the holidays either. It can be like a Tuesday afternoon in July when, dad would want to go to the movies. So, let's sneak out of work and do the movies kind of thing. Again, these things don't have to be big productions or grandiose. They can just be a little bit of a nod to your loved one. And even to the point that maybe others don't even recognize that it's a nod to your loved one. No, I'm not going to go down that tangent. Maybe we'll circle back to it, but I'm not going off on a tangent yet. I've done so well so far. So, number 11. This one's kind of fun. Traditions. Continue your family traditions or scrap them all and start over. Either way. This is one of my favorites to talk about, and I'll explain in a couple minutes just why, because I'll again tell you my new tradition. But as far as continuing Christmas traditions, maybe grandma made the most amazing con pie and it was passed down for generations and generations, and like you looked forward to that every year. I bet you can find that recipe and I bet you can replicate it if she didn't just teach it to you. That would be the kind of tradition that I feel like would be worth continuing if it's meaningful to you. Maybe it's Christmas caroling or, cookies or going to see Christmas lights or something along those lines. Maybe it's, chopping down a tree or ice skating or something along those things that you loved and you love outside of that person. Those are the kind of things that you can continue to do in their honor. Or it could go the exact opposite way. Excuse me. A friend of mine, every year around Thanksgiving, gets together with her big extended family and they rent out an industrial kitchen for like the entire weekend. And they fry up like 300 or 400 latkes. And I'm going to be real honest with you, that sounds miserable to me. I would much rather just eat them and not make them. But don't get me wrong, if that's what my family was doing, I would show up in a heartbeat with my apron all ready to get messy and smell like fried grease for days and days. But also if my family, if that was something my family did and someone was like, you know what, let's just order them this year, I would be the first one to give them my credit card and be like, yep, I'm out. Um, there are a lot of traditions in my life that kind of could go both ways. One of my favorite new traditions is actually just happened for Thanksgiving. Instead of doing a big Thanksgiving turkey meal around the table with all the fixings, because we're going to see our extended family so quickly again in December through for Christmas time and things, my husband and I, we just leave town. For the last probably decade or so, we've just up and gotten on a plane and flown to Vegas for Thanksgiving. And we have that Thursday night. We normally go for the week. We leave, Monday or Tuesday and come back Thursday or Friday or Saturday. And so that Thursday night, that Thanksgiving night, well, that Thanksgiving day, I don't get out of bed and I watch the parade, which I have never gotten to do until I started going to Thanksgiving in Vegas, because we always had things to do. And I love the parade, but we always had things to do. So now I lay in bed all day and I watch the parade, and then they play it again and I watch it again, and then I watch the dog show, and then I get up and I shower. And that Thursday evening, we go have a turkey buffet dinner in the casino. We have turkey prepared in just about like every possible way that you can prepare turkey. This year we had turkey tacos and turkey spaghetti, and then we have, traditional turkey with mashed potatoes and corn and gravy and all those other fixins. And then once we've had turkey in every possible way that we can, we then gorge ourselves on desserts, pumpkin pie and all the pies and ice cream and cakes. And I mean, because it's a buffet, right? You eat until you can't eat anymore. And that's kind of our new Thanksgiving tradition. It's something that my immediate family, my husband and I, we do together. And it's something that I really look forward to every year. I look forward to laying in bed and watching the parade and going to have this ridiculously crazy meal that I don't have to cook or clean up. But we've also pulled in some of those traditional Thanksgiving elements and we've really made it our own. So, like maybe Thanksgiving food isn't quite your favorite. So, what about a macaroni and cheese bar or a taco bar? We do prime rib sometimes for Christmas. Maybe it's go to the beach, or there's just so many different ways that if it's not meaningful to you, don't force it, because it doesn't have to be meaningful. It's a fun way to honor, bringing in those new traditions. It's a fun way to find ways to honor what and who you've loved, but also move forward with your own life in new ways. So we got two more. My second to last tip is also kind of a fun one, I think. I'm a little bit biased, but I think it is do or say or eat or watch or wear something that means something special to them or to you. So here's a couple examples. Let's say that your brother thought that Die Hard was a Christmas movie. Now, we all know that logic is horribly flawed. It is not a Christmas movie. And while I do enjoy the movie, just because it has a Christmas tree in like that one scene doesn't mean it's a Christmas movie, right? Okay. Now, let's suspend disbelief and let's just allow your brother to think that Die Hard is a Christmas movie. And it's just not the holidays until he's watched it. Well, maybe that's something you choose to do to honor him. And you remember him every year. And by watching a non-Christmas movie as a Christmas movie, you are remembering him and honoring him. Another one of surprise, my own family holiday traditions that I think is fun. For Christmas Eve, my family, when we get together, we have hors d'oeuvres for dinner. For as long as I can remember, we've had just like these delicious little finger foods. It's just like a smorgasbord of anything and everything that can be eaten with a toothpick or with your fingers. Like that's kind of the requirement. Sometimes it's mushrooms or weenies or cheese and crackers, whatever it is, as long as toothpick or fingers. And when we were little kids, my mom would ask us, what we wanted to have for Christmas dinner. And we would come up with some of the most ridiculous things. Just like sometimes it would be ants on a log, or we'd make things up. We kind of started playing Stump the Chump at some point. It would be like, we want fruit roll-ups that taste like potatoes, and all kinds of crazy stuff. Um, but one thing that my sister always wanted was popcorn. From the time she could say popcorn, she wanted popcorn, and just popcorn, nothing special. Microwave, nothing special. Buttered, cheap, off-brand popcorn. And so to this day, Christmas Eve is not Christmas Eve if there's not a bowl of popcorn on the table. And honestly, I don't even like popcorn, but whether I'm with my family or not, there's popcorn on the table. And then it's 99% of it is thrown away. But I encourage you to kind of explore these kind of traditions that can become meaningful events you can do together that you might not have even realized were traditions. Like, it wasn't until probably 10 years ago that I realized, oh, popcorn is a Christmas tradition. And now it's a tradition. So Vicki, I see you went. What do you got for me?
Well, there's Julie's telling you Die Hard is a Christmas movie. She just wants to make that clear. And
Okay,
she's put it in all caps. So
we
she's
can agree
serious.
to disagree on that one, Julie.
Yeah.
Mostly I just say that because I know that some people are like adamant.
Oh,
that it's a Christmas
I know
movie.
many people that's their favorite.
Yeah.
Julie, you're not alone, because I do know some in my own family. We have discussions.
I'm one of those that you could tell me the sky is purple and I'd be like, no, it's not. Or like, I'm looking at my ceiling. It is white. I guess you probably can't see it. And I'd be like, no, it's not. It's orange. And I would, just to push buttons to push buttons kind of person. So, okay. Are we ready to tip number
Yep.
13, my favorite?
We're good.
Okay. I waited for the very last. This is my all-time number one, all-time favorite. If I could only give you one tip, it would be this one. Worth the entire last hour to hear this, in my opinion. Tip number 13. This is the baker's dozen of the dozen tips. It is the grace space. This single tip probably helped me through the toughest time of my grieving process. And it is actually something that a very good friend did for me, and I found so powerful that I just want to share it with everyone. I call it finding or offering a grace space. So my Madeline was born and died in May. Just a few weeks later, like 6 weeks later, was the 4th of July. And a good friend of mine always has a big 4th of July party. And so I wanted to be there for her. I didn't want to be there personally, but it was a tradition, and I wanted to be there for her. The traditional backyard barbecue, hot dogs and hamburgers and firecrackers and all that good stuff. And I just really wanted to be there for her. But I was still very, very much in my grief bubble, super into myself, not able to really function as a human. So I did everything I could to be there. I got up and I showered and I put on real clean clothes. 6 weeks in, that was a huge step for me. And I went over to her house. And I wasn't there even 2 minutes when she came up to me and she pulled me aside and very casually and nonchalantly said, hey, obviously this is a 4th of July party, so we're outside. And because of that, there's really no reason for anyone to go upstairs, so it's kind of off limits. But I just want you to know that guest bedroom upstairs is ready and there for you. Whenever you want it, just walk up, close the door. No one even needs to know you're up there. Spend time, just you, whatever you need, and whenever you're ready, come back down and be part of this celebration with us. And here's the thing about grieving. You are so anxious around other people because you don't know what they know about your situation. And you don't really want to tell them too much but you also don't know what's going to activate you, and you don't know what kind of conversations you're going to have or what conversations you're going to have to try to get out of. It's just so full of anxiety. There's a whole lot of unknowns that just anxiety. And it took every bit of the energy I had just to get there. And I didn't know how long I was going to be able to stay, but I knew I needed to be there. And knowing that special space was there just for me allowed me to be there just a little bit longer. And to be honest, I used that space multiple times that day. I would see kids running around because that's what kids do at a 4th of July party. And I'd have to go upstairs and I'd have to calm down and collect myself and pull myself together. And then I could come back down and do it again. And the thing is, I would have found that little igloo of self-care, whether this gray space was presented to me or not. But the thing is, I probably would have locked myself in the bathroom, or I would have like hid in the back of a closet, or I would have gone out to the car and never quite made it back. I would have felt shame for my feelings. But my friend having this special place ready for me and just for me and my emotions was so amazing. It really helped me through one of the very first and most difficult interactions I had after Madeline died. And so I would like to offer and kind of encourage you to either offer a space of grace, and it could be, a spare bedroom, it could be just a spot. It doesn't even have to be anything special. So that when you invite people over to your home, there's a place for them. And knowing that that place is available to them makes it okay for them to have feelings, to be human. And then if you are the griever, think about what your igloo of self-care or grace space will be ahead of time. So you don't have to like figure it out on the fly, or like find a bathroom that has a door that locks, or go out to the car and sit in the cold and never quite make it back in. It was just so meaningful to me and gave me permission to be human, that every time I have people come over, even if it's just like ordering pizza, I'm like, this space is for you if you need it. And so just by her doing that little simple thing, she really didn't do anything. I mean, maybe it was a guest room. She didn't even have to make the bed. It theoretically was done. It meant it was so, so, so powerful. So find your own or offer up a grace space this holiday season, and know that it is okay to be human. It is okay to break down, because sometimes you have to break down before you can break through. So break down, feel your feels, and when you're ready, collect yourself and step back out into the world. And you can do this, and we can do this together. So those are my 13 tips. I do actually have them all recapped right here. But given that I want to have a discussion, I want to talk. But before we do that, because I don't want to interrupt a really good conversation, I want to extend an invitation to you that is not a subpoena, but I still want to invite you. So as you may remember, I promised that I would give you continued community and camaraderie and prizes, right? So I wanted to offer to extend this experience, the extended experience, to you through our new, what we're calling personalized proactive outreach support system, which is really a fancy way to say we want to be able to send you information that is relevant and personalized to you. And if you would like to continue on this extended experience, because I can't think of anything better to it. But this is kind of our beta testing to see if this is something that people are interested in. So I would love to have you, if you're interested. I want to share each of these tips with you again individually every day, December 12th through the 14th, through this texting platform that we have that I'm so excited about. So if you want to scan the QR code or go to sharingsolace.holidaygrief.com and just do a little quick survey thing, that will give me the information I need to give you the information I want to share. And then if you share more information with us, and there's no real commitment. I just want to be real clear, no cost, no commitment. All I'm asking is for you to share your honest opinion and engage with each other, because that's what we're all here to do. So, and again, all of this will go out in the after email, all that good stuff. But now that I've kind of done that, I would love to, Vicky, open it up to you, open it up to the conversation. I'm going to put maybe. There we go. Let's discuss. Any questions?
First, I will tell you, Julie just made a comment in regards to the gray space. That was a great idea, and I agree. That's a wonderful, and how thoughtful of your friend to provide that. So it's a great tool. I'm gonna start coughing again, so I'm gonna mute
myself. I got my water.
And everybody else can join in.
Yes, I am going to open up the chat. I'm going to look at the chat now. Maybe. Yeah, but Linda, I saw you're not on mute. Do you have something you'd like to add?
Me?
Yeah.
Yes, I cannot tell you how grateful I am that you presented this to us today. I almost didn't get to participate tonight, and can you see my notes? Can you see all my notes?
Even if there's scribble, I feel that fills my heart.
Oh, because tomorrow I'm leaving to go to Florida to a cousin's reunion. One of my cousins lost her daughter a couple of years back, and I haven't seen her since. She was murdered by her husband.
Oh.
And I haven't known what to say to her. I haven't talked to her. I haven't seen her. So one of the reasons I'm going to go down there is try to say, I feel you and I love you, and I'm sorry I haven't been in touch with you. And so now I've got some ideas anyway of how to get started. So thank you so much.
Even if they're bad ideas, they're ideas, right?
That's right. And with no ideas where I started.
Hey,
perfect.
I'll take it.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you. Let me see. Let me put this in the chat. Well, I don't know what's going on. I got so many screens open here. I don't even know what I'm looking at anymore. Hopefully you see something. Let me go back here. Let me, there's the recap. Just so you know, kind of, if you took notes, that's great. If not, here's the 13 things we talked about, or I talked at you about. And here, let's see if that link's not going to work. Well, I tried. I'll try again.
Well, Crystal, I'm just looking at your 3 objectives you had.
Yeah.
Or you'd hope. And I'm just curious if anybody has thought, the second one is there anything you can do to prepare yourself if you're anticipating having an emotional episode, or what do you call it? You don't call it a trigger, but
activate.
That's it. So I just think that's something for us, again, that self-care type of thing has this activated anyone to think about what they do. You talk about providing that space, grace space, that a friend would do that for you, but you could do that for yourself too, right? You could
absolutely.
A gray space for yourself potentially.
And I'm not opposed to going out to the car and having that be your gray space. And also, I like to know that that's my gray space before I need it. When it's kind of like a last minute, oh my gosh, how am I gonna deal? It feels a little bit more frantic. But when I know that that's going to be my gray space, maybe I put a little blanket in there, or a cup of water, or a water bottle or something along those kind of lines. as just kind of a way to have it feel like I prepared. Yeah. Anybody else have any comments or things they'd like to share about that specifically? I guess I can, let me figure out how to stop sharing. How about that? And then we can, nope. Okay, what am I doing? Here we go, stop sharing.
There you
Oh,
did
wow,
it.
what a mess. Oh, I like that, Monica. She says, I always drive separately everywhere in case I get activated and need an escape. Yeah.
Oh, that's hard.
That I do that as well. Oftentimes I'll allow my husband to come with me, my chauffeur. He also goes by Kyle, or husband. But yeah, I rarely will ride in a big group, especially when I know there's going to be the potential for emotions. Yeah. And I'm not opposed to the word trigger if that works for you. That just kind of has a sharp sound to it, where I feel like activate is just a little smoother. And I'm a huge, like, I looked up probably 50% of the words. Just, okay, is this really the word I want to use, or is there a better word? Kind of thing.
It's very thoughtful to change it that way.
Yeah.
Because words have such power.
Yeah. Yes, I couldn't agree more. So
It's
yeah,
just
that's
wonderful.
well. I hope that everyone could take away at least one piece tonight. One idea of, and maybe it wasn't even one of our tips. Maybe it was a tip that sparked another idea. That's what I hope, that there's something that you were able to take away from this evening.
Well, Crystal, thank you. You've got a couple of comments. Thank you in the chat, so I'll let you read those. But it was very informative and just very gracious of you to share your story in such a way that it also can help all of us to think of those of how we handle some of those the grieving and the loss, and especially, and as you said, especially at this time of the year, there's just a lot of emotions going on, and everybody's supposed to be happy, right? Ho ho ho.
Yes.
And it doesn't always work that way. So we do appreciate you being here tonight. For those of you that are here, we'll have another first Tuesday on January. I don't even have the date in front of me, but it's first Tuesday in January. And it is going to be on trauma care. And more information will be coming about that. But we're very grateful for you here tonight, and to all of you, enjoy this holiday season. We're grateful for all of you.
January 7th.
Yes, January
Thank
7th.
you. Thank you.
And if you've not attended these in the past, they're always good. You definitely get your money's worth. I'll tell you that.
So let me ask you this
Okay.
before you get away from us. So what do you offer in the way of your business, for lack of a better term?
Yeah,
Your Sharing Solace. Tell me about that.
Sharing Solace's organization is really, we're all about helping grievers grieve and lovers love their griever. So we kind of offer a wide array of things. I'm really passionate about our products. So I actually created this necklace, and the idea is that you keep it near your heart as long as it brings you comfort during that initial heavy grief. And then at some point, the hope is that you can release the heavy grief. You're never going to get over your grief. We all know that. Everyone here knows that you don't get over grief. But I also believe that you need to find a way to release the debilitating grief. And so this is a way to symbolically and physically release that heavy grief, and then also pay forward some strength to someone else.
Great.
And so that's kind of what it represents.
Thank you for that explanation, because I thought, is this a therapy program? Is this what exactly is this? So thank you for sharing that, because it's also something tangible
Yes.
that folks can wear and, like you said, have near to their heart, that gives them some comfort.
Yeah. So sharing solace is not, we're not clinically licensed in anything. We are grief smart, street smart, not necessarily book smart. Although if you could see the lower half of my bookshelf, it's all full of books. So maybe I'm book smart too, but I don't have the credentials behind it. It's all about, recognizing that there are others out there that have walked a similar path to you.
Mm-hmm.
And this
Such a great service that you are offering. Thank you
Well,
so
thank you.
so much.
Oh yeah. But everyone that's still on here, please, someone will. I don't know if that's me or Vicky, but I do want to make sure that everyone knows how to get the replay of this. So I will make sure that that gets sent out to everyone as soon as I know how to find it. Hopefully this week. The goal is to get you an email sent out this week. So if you don't get an email from me, you're welcome to email me, and I will, because sometimes my emails get lost in spam land. So hopefully it is just a technical issue and not a Crystal issue.
And Crystal, we will
work with you to make sure that we get it all covered. It may not be by Friday, but it will be by early next week, the very latest. We'll make sure.
As long as everybody else knows that, I'm cool with that. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. And thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm just trying to read. Okay. Sorry, I can't read and talk. I can't do
Right.
I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. So Monica, I'm reading your note. I hope that these tips helped. And sorry. Again, I can't even read and talk at the same time. We're looking at 2 years. 2 years and just my heart is with you, Monica. And anything I, or really anyone in this, I'm going to speak for everyone and say anything that we can do to help, please know that I'm there. I won't throw everyone under the bus, but I want to support you any way that I can. So, okay. And I'm really going to stop talking now so that everybody can enjoy the rest of their evening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Okay. Yep. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.